Welcome to Buzz Around the Globe. Netanyahu has vowed to carry out Rafah invasion, which US says would be a mistake. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced that a date is set for the invasion on Rafah. He escalated his pledge to invade the southern Gaza city, which is filled with around 1.4 million Palestinians, most of whom are displaced from other parts of the Gaza Strip. Netanyahu said in a video statement, "It will happen, there is a date." He did not give any more details about this invasion. He did not say when the invasion would occur, but reiterated that victory over Hamas militants requires entry into Rafah and the elimination of the terrorist battalions there. The United States, Israel's closest ally, has said a ground operation into Rafah would be a mistake and has demanded to see a credible plan to protect the civilians. Netanyahu spoke as Israeli negotiators are in Cairo discussing international efforts to broker a ceasefire deal with the Palestinian militant group Hamas. An Israeli official confirmed to the Associated Press that Israel is purchasing 40,000 tents to prepare for the evacuation of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from the southern Gaza city of Rafah. Israel says Rafah is Hamas's last stronghold and is vowing to send ground troops into the city. Israel has said it has a plan to evacuate civilians ahead of its offensive, and Israel's defense ministry on Monday published a tender seeking a supplier for these tents. Although this order of 40,000 tents to house millions of Palestinians seems nothing more than an eyewash right now, Israel is showing minor concessions to avoid the international pressure. Earlier, it allowed the opening of new aid corridors, and now it seems to be telling US and its allies that it has plans for evacuating the civilians. Plan or no plan, US is skeptical. US State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller told reporters that the full-scale military invasion of Rafah would have an enormously harmful effect.
But even more than that, we have made clear to Israel that we think a full-scale military invasion of Rafah would have an enormously harmful effect on those civilians, and that it would ultimately hurt Israel's security. So it's not just a question of Israel presenting a plan to us. We have made clear to them that we think that there is a better way to achieve what is a legitimate goal, which is to degrade and dismantle and defeat the Hamas battalions that still remain in Rafah.
Meanwhile, Egyptian media reported that the mediators have presented a new ceasefire proposal to Hamas and Israel that would include a 6-week pause in fighting and a swap of 40 Hamas-held hostages for at least 700 Palestinians imprisoned by Israel. The proposal was presented to delegations from Hamas and Israel during the latest round of negotiations in Cairo over the weekend. Among the Palestinian prisoners to be freed would be dozens convicted of killing Israelis during attacks by militant groups. It was reported that Hamas would be required to provide a list of the hostages it will release, as well as a list of Palestinian prisoners whose freedom it seeks. The proposal also includes the return of a significant number of Palestinians to northern Gaza. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians fled the northern half of Gaza in the early stages of the war, heeding Israeli evacuation orders. The vast majority of Gaza's 2.3 million people are now crammed into the southern half. The proposal stipulates that Israel gradually dismantle checkpoints it had built on a new road that split the strip in half to prevent the return of Palestinians to the north. Hamas has said it is reviewing the proposal. Israel's Prime Minister did say that he had received a detailed report on the talks in Cairo and that they are working all the time to achieve their goals, primarily the release of all hostages and achieving a complete victory over Hamas. The Palestinian death toll from the war has passed 33,200 with nearly 76,000 wounded, according to Gaza's health ministry. Although the ministry doesn't differentiate between civilians and combatants in this tally, but says women and children make up 2/3 of the dead. The world is hoping that if not a ceasefire, then at least a suitable plan is prepared to save the civilians as this war wages on, even 6 months after the Hamas attack on Israel. Do tell us what you think about this video in the comment section, and for more news updates, subscribe to India Today.